My sister falsely accused me of theft. After the truth came out, our grandparents cut them from the will. I'm 29 now, and until that day, I thought I understood what family meant. Growing up in our modest suburban home, my sister Lily and I shared the kind of bond that most siblings would envy. Just 3 years apart in age, we were each other's first best friends, conspirators in childhood mischief, and later, confidants in teenage dramas. Sure, we had our usual sibling squabbles, but we were close. Close enough that her fiancé Luke became like a brother to me. We bonded over everything, from cheering for the same football team, to spending afternoons at cafes discussing their upcoming wedding. Luke even made me promise to be his groomsman. It's like he's your biological brother, not me, Lily would joke. I took it as a compliment then. Now, those words taste bitter in my mouth. When Lily announced her engagement, our family was overjoyed. Our parents beamed with pride, and our grandparents couldn't stop hinting about the generous wedding gift they were planning. The engagement ring itself was a stunning piece that cost a fortune, and Lily couldn't have been prouder wearing it. The day of the engagement party started normally enough. I arrived early to help set up the event hall, watching my sister fret over every detail, the centerpieces, the music, the lighting. Our father handled the refreshments, while our mother supervised the decorations. The grandparents warmly welcomed guests as they arrived. Everything seemed perfect, until it wasn't. About an hour into the celebration, I heard a commotion near the main table. Luke was consoling a visibly upset Lily. When I approached to help, she turned to me with tear-filled eyes and dropped the bomb. Her ring was missing, gone right off her finger. I asked if she was sure she hadn't set it down somewhere, but that only made things worse. "Don't patronize me," she snapped. Our mother appeared, frantic about the missing ring, and suddenly, everyone was searching. That's when my father grabbed my arm, demanding I help look, as if I hadn't already been doing exactly that. Then came the words that would change everything. "He's been near me all morning," Lily said, her voice trembling. "Maybe he?" She locked eyes with me. "Did you take it?" My heart stopped. The accusation was so absurd I almost laughed. "Why would I steal your ring? That's insane." But Lily wouldn't back down. "You were acting weird earlier, messing with the centerpieces near me. You might have pocketed it." Our mother gasped. "Son, tell me it's not true." The whole scene felt surreal. My sister grew increasingly hysterical, claiming I'd always been envious of her. Then, to my horror, they forced me to empty my pockets. And somehow, impossibly, the ring fell out. My blood ran cold. "I don't know how that got there," I stammered. "I swear, I didn't take it." "The evidence is obvious," someone muttered. Everything spiraled from there. Lily accused me of wanting to ruin her engagement, or planning to sell the ring. Our father gave me that stern look I hadn't seen since childhood, demanding I confess. People started searching through my jacket without permission, while my sister had a complete meltdown. Only our grandparents tried to intervene, but their voices were lost in the chaos. My mother demanded I leave until I decided to come clean. My father backed her up. Even Luke, who I thought was my friend, I left in a daze, humiliated in front of everyone. The drive home was a blur of anger and confusion. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from people who'd witnessed the drama, most of them calling me a thief. No one believed me except my grandparents, who called the next day, furious about how I'd been treated. "We insisted they search thoroughly before blaming you." My grandfather's voice shook with anger. They refused to listen. 2 days later, the truth emerged via a half-hearted text from my father. Luke had planted the ring in my pocket. Lily had overheard him bragging about it on the phone to a friend. His motivation? He thought getting me disowned would mean more inheritance for him and Lily. The betrayal cut deep. My supposed friend, my brother, had orchestrated the whole thing for money. Lily called off the wedding, but the damage was done. I demanded a public apology. My father suggested a calm family discussion instead. My mother called, urging me to let it go since the truth was out. But I couldn't just forget how they'd humiliated me without a second thought. My grandparents were livid. They called a family meeting at their house. My grandfather wasted no time scolding them for their assumptions. Lily attempted a weak apology. I was stressed. The ring was missing. I panicked. We just followed her lead, our father added. You were the only one near her that day. So that justifies throwing me out with zero proof, I shot back. That's when my grandmother dropped the bomb. They were removing my sister, mother, and father from their will. I would be the sole inheritor of their $3 million estate. The room exploded. My sister's eyes went wide. Our mother gasped. Our father stammered uselessly. They all looked at me like I'd orchestrated it, but this was entirely my grandparents' decision. Wait, Lily stammered. You can't do that. I made a mistake, but I apologized. My grandfather's response was ice cold. Accusing your own brother of theft, humiliating him publicly, then shrugging it off as a mistake? That's no small error. You didn't even investigate properly. You just threw him out. The aftermath has been messy. My sister orchestrated another family meeting, framing it as burying the hatchet. Instead, they spent the entire time trying to guilt me into convincing our grandparents to change their minds. They downplayed their accusations like it was just a minor misunderstanding. We're still family, my father said calmly. We can fix the damage. Just talk to your grandparents, my mother chimed in. Your sister is young. She panicked. Surely you can't let this ruin her future. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My future was almost ruined when you labeled me a thief and kicked me out. You didn't care about my reputation then. Only your precious ring. Why should I fix anything now? Lily tried tears. I was under stress. I wanted everything perfect for my engagement. Don't punish me for life. You unleashed a storm of accusations, got me humiliated. You never believed me innocent. Now that you face consequences, you cry foul? That's not how real apologies work. My grandparents finalized the will a week later. They'd retain ownership while alive, but everything would transfer to me upon their passing. My father, mother, and sister collectively lost their minds, accusing me of manipulating our grandparents. But my grandparents stood firm, saying they'd witnessed how I was wronged and wouldn't reward such cruelty. My father made empty threats about legal action, but the estate was structured to prevent challenges. Lily tried to shift blame onto me, claiming I refused to forgive and forget. But the truth was out there. The ring had been planted, I was innocent, and they'd all turned on me without proof. 5 years have crawled by since that day. My relationship with my immediate family has devolved into something barely recognizable, reduced to obligatory holiday cards and painfully awkward run-ins at extended family events. The last time I saw my sister was at our cousin's wedding 3 months ago. She was across the room, obviously pregnant with her first child, and for a moment, our eyes met. I saw her start to move toward me, but then her new husband, not Luke, thank God, pulled her away. I pretended not to notice the tears in her eyes. My parents have aged differently under the weight of our estrangement. Mom seemed smaller somehow, her once proud posture now perpetually hunched as if carrying an invisible burden. Dad's hair has gone completely gray, and the confident businessman I once knew now avoids my gaze when we cross paths at family functions. They still try to reach out, especially around holidays or birthdays, but their messages always have the same undertone, a mixture of guilt and expectation, as if I'm the one who needs to make things right. The most recent attempt at reconciliation came last month, when Mom showed up unannounced at my office. Your sister's having a baby, she said, her voice trembling. A little girl. She wants you to be part of her life. The unspoken message was clear. This could be our chance to start over, to pretend the past never happened. But some wounds run too deep for easy fixes. My sister eventually married someone else, but I wasn't invited to the wedding. Our parents still occasionally try to bridge the gap, but their efforts always circle back to the inheritance. My grandparents are still going strong, thankfully. They've become even more important in my life, filling the void left by my parents' betrayal. We have Sunday dinners together, and they've taught me more about family loyalty in these past few years than my parents managed in decades. The hardest part isn't the lost relationships. It's the knowledge that money meant more to them than truth or trust. Luke's scheme worked in a way. He did destroy a family, just not in the way he planned. I've built a new life now, one that sometimes feels surreal in its stark contrast to my old one. After the incident, I threw myself into work, determined to prove something. Maybe to them, maybe to myself. That drive led me to start my own consulting firm, which has grown beyond my wildest expectations. Success, as it turns out, is the best revenge. The inheritance sits there like a shadow over everything, a $3 million elephant in the room that no one can ignore. Sometimes, late at night, I find myself running the numbers, thinking about splitting it when the time comes. Maybe it could mend fences, heal old wounds. But then I remember my father's stern glare as he demanded I empty my pockets, my mother's disgusted expression as she ordered me to leave, my sister's hysterical accusations. Money might fix their problems, but it can't erase those memories. Last week, I received a letter from my sister's lawyer. It was carefully worded, suggesting a mutually beneficial arrangement regarding the inheritance. They proposed a trust for my future niece, framing it as a way to honor our grandparents' legacy. The irony wasn't lost on me. The same people who once accused me of theft now want me to share wealth I never asked for. But then I remember how easily they believed the worst of me, how quickly they cast me aside. And I realize some bridges, once burned, should stay that way. I've learned more about family in these past 5 years than in all the decades before. Sometimes the family you choose is more reliable than the one you're born into. Loyalty, once broken, is like that infamous engagement ring. Even when you find it again, it's never quite the same. Some people say time heals all wounds. I've learned it's more complicated than that. Time doesn't heal, it just gives you perspective. The pain doesn't go away, but you build something new around it, something stronger. And maybe that's the real inheritance my grandparents gave me. Not the money, but the wisdom to know when to hold on and when to let go. Luke, I heard, moved to another state after the truth came out. Sometimes I wonder if he realizes what he really stole that day. Not a ring, not an inheritance, but something far more precious. The trust that holds a family together. Once that's gone, no amount of money can buy it back. The ring that started it all? Lily sold it after breaking up with Luke. Somehow, that feels right. Some things, once tainted, can never be worn again without remembering the damage they caused. The same goes for family bonds, once shattered by betrayal. They can be glued back together, but you'll always see the cracks. And maybe that's okay. Maybe those cracks are there to remind us that something precious was broken, and that we should be more careful with the things and people we still have.